In this video, we are looking at a massive winter storm signal going into this weekend. All of the models are hinting at a very memorable weather pattern as we go forward, but we don't just blindly trust the models around here. Also, little appetizer shots of snow are going to tease a lot of us while we wait on the big one. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. Let's put the hype and the nonsense in a little box here and throw it away for just a minute while we analytically dissect these weather models. All right, jumping right into it here with the NAM 3-kilometer model zoomed out on the whole United States so everybody watching can get a little taste of what's going to happen over the next little bit. If you want to keep up with the date and time here, it's always going to be displayed above my head in Eastern time. So let's put this bad boy into motion, okay? Let's go from 2 p.m. into about 5 p.m. this evening. Two main stories breaking here. As you can see, we've got another shot of snow moving through Ohio, Michigan, into Pennsylvania and western and upstate New York into the Appalachian Mountain region. And this is shot number 2, okay? If you watched the video on Friday, I hinted at the fact that we're going to get a 1-2 punch clipper system come through the north here, and both of these are kind of overperforming, so good on you for those of you in northeastern Ohio and Pennsylvania and all these places that were looking for snow. You're going to get a little bit more before this is all said and done, but for the most part, it's going to turn into a big old bag of flurries here in New England as we get into the overnight and early morning hours tomorrow. Now, look at this, another big feature we've been talking about for a while down here in the Gulf of Mexico, bringing heavy rain to southeast Texas, Louisiana, and now working into the Dixie Alley deep south area, especially by 5 a.m. tomorrow, right around New Orleans. You guys are going to be seeing some downright gully washers, okay? That's going to get out of here, and it does have the very, very slight chance of producing some severe weather here in Florida, maybe on Tuesday into Wednesday, but like this is really falling apart before it gets there, so I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to have any big problems down here. Eyeballs going back up to the Great Lakes regions. Once again, we've got that west to east flow up here on Tuesday that's going to continue to have these lake effect snow machines turned on. If you've been getting a lot of snow up here in the past couple of days, you're going to continue to get it, okay? It's going to continue to pile on with this cold pattern that we're in. Now, eyeballs are going over here. Look at this, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico. I know I've called this Arizona in the past like 2 videos. I don't know what's wrong with me, but you guys are going to be getting in on some snow late on Tuesday. And look at this, these snow showers are going to persist all the way down into Texas in the panhandle of Oklahoma, around Lubbock, maybe around 2 p.m. on Wednesday. You could see a quick burst of snow. These are the appetizer snow showers that I've been talking about here. Here's a look at snow totals for the next 60 hours, okay? Everybody in the gray, you're talking about like a skiff of snow to a scuff. Now, some areas here in the blues, you guys can see 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 6 inches. It just depends on how that banding works, and especially if you get under the right lake effect snow band. Same thing over here in the west and the Rockies. You know, if you're in the higher elevations, you're going to get hit a little bit harder by these appetizer snow showers. But even down here in the plains, in the panhandle of Texas and over here in western Kansas, we're talking about a couple isolated areas that could see 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches of snow from these appetizer snow showers. Now, the main course is still coming, and we're going to talk about that right now. All right, let's take a look at the big picture here as we start to talk about this signal that we have for a huge upcoming snowstorm somewhere on the East Coast. Now, it's important that we understand the difference between a signal and a threat. Right now, we're still talking about a signal for a storm, which means that, like, hey man, I've seen this movie before, and it ends one of 2 ways: a big blockbuster blizzard, a roof collapsing blizzard, or nothing. Okay, so like, I'm sorry, but that's what, you know, the signal is showing right now. However, if we continue to see this signal tomorrow and the next day, it will become a real threat, and we will go far more in depth on everything, I promise. But let's take a look at the big picture of the signal here as we look at the entire northern hemisphere of the Earth, looking at our red blobs and blue blobs once again, and this is the GFS ensemble model. And of course, we see some classic signals here: a ridge that's going to point our polar jet down in the right direction, a strong subtropical jet that's going to phase together with that, hopefully. We've got a little bit of a trough down here on the eastern side of the U.S. We've got a negative North Atlantic oscillation. This red blob right here is going to be our best friend as far as trying to block this thing from going to the north too fast. However, there is a big problem over here, okay? You see how flat our wave is, our trough is here on the East Coast? The problem with that is that any storm that forms is going to be very progressive and trying to go to the east, and there's not a lot of anything over here to block it. So something that meteorologists do when we look at weather model data is we kind of compare them to past events, right? When I was looking for analog data on this storm, as you do, I came across something very interesting. This is what I came across. I'm going to give you a second here to look at it, and if we direct our attention attention down here to the dates. This is the 500 millibar height anomalies from March 11th to March 15th. And if you're old enough to remember this, well, I'm technically not, but if you are, you remember that between March 11th and March 15th of 93, we had one of the biggest and most impactful blizzards that have ever hit the United States as far as we know. That's what happened during this time frame, and I want you to look at the map once again. And I'm going to come back to our future predictions on the models here. I'm going to flip it back and forth just a couple times so you can kind of get the idea. And as you can see, there's a lot of similarities here with that setup. Now, here, real quick, before everybody starts freaking out, don't freak out, okay? Or don't get too excited. I am not by any means saying that we are going to see a repeat of the superstorm of 93, okay? However, it's not very often that you see an anomalous analog such as that kind of pop up when you're searching through future winter storm predictions. You got to remember that we're looking at a big synoptic pattern here. We're looking at the whole northern hemisphere. There's all kinds of tiny little mesoscale things that are happening down closer to the surface and in these small areas that are vastly different than what we saw in March of 93, okay? But the big picture here looks kind of similar. Okay, let's zoom in here to North America and get a better and higher definition look at our upcoming system. Once again, polar jet pointed in the right direction, subtropical jet coming down through here, huge trough on the East Coast. We got some blocking up here. Now, we've lost a lot of our blocking that we were talking about earlier in the month, but we still have a little bit of it to work with, and that's going to help significantly in kind of guiding this storm to kind of do the things that you would want it to do if you want to see snow on the East Coast. The main thing that we're missing is a big old block over here just to the east of the storm, because with our ridge to the west, a lot of times these things can become super progressive and just skedaddle off to the east much faster than what they would need to if they were going to become a big storm. But anyways, you can see our monster trough dig out a huge path for once again, a possibly a historic blizzard somewhere on the East Coast here as I draw this all the way through Monday of next week. I can't even really describe to you how perfect this is as far as a signal goes for a storm up here. From areas north of the mid-Atlantic up into the extreme northeastern portion of the United States into Nova Scotia, this would be the dream storm for them. However, things are gonna change. All right, is this big blizzard coming up? Is it factual or is it fictional, Ryan? Well, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to give you a very clear answer, but we're gonna start to clear things up here by looking at more of the fun stuff. You guys love the deterministic runs of these models, so let's show you what the Euro is showing. We've been looking at a lot of the GFS. This is the Euro. Friday, January 28th at 10 p.m., we've got a low pressure system that has formed just to the north and east of Florida and is now kicking up to the north and east. On the backside, it's carrying around a huge ball of cold air that's going to drop temperatures way down below normal from the Great Lakes regions all the way down into the Tennessee Valley. On the northwestern side, a bit of a overrunning precipitation shield breaks out as snow begins to fall from Kentucky all the way up into Maine. And then what happens is as that trough cuts back and becomes a little bit more negatively tilted, this storm undergoes what we call bombogenesis. It literally becomes a bomb cyclone as the central pressure drops to let me zoom in here. Yeah, this is showing a central low pressure of 957 millibars. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means holy smokes. This would be a remarkable and very memorable blizzard, something that we haven't seen in over a decade here for Cape Cod and Boston, all the way up through the coast of Maine. So this is going to shift, okay? It's going to go this way a little bit. It's going to go this way a little bit. It's too early to talk about snow totals and exact impacts right now, but man, it's incredible that this is the signal that we're getting. Another model that we can look at is the Canadian, and once again, it shows that big precipitation area here, and then the storm comes together and really, once again, undergoes bombogenesis and becomes a massive blizzard. This one's a little bit further to the west, but still, it's a massive blizzard for a lot of the northeast. And this one's all rain for Cape Cod. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of different paths that this thing can take. Now, let's take a look at the GFS model, and the new 12Z data is rolling right now as I film this, but it's just not all the way out yet. So let's go back to 6Z, and bada bing, bada boom, there it is. Once again, it looks really similar to the Canadian model with a massive storm blizzard for New Jersey, New York City, all the way up into all of New England and upstate New York. And by the way, wind speeds around this would be 40, 50, maybe 60 miles an hour. So it's a true definition of a blizzard here. All of our big three models that we go off of are showing pretty much the same thing. But we've been talking about trends, okay? What did the 0Z run show before this? What did the 18Z show? Wow. What did the 12Z show? Okay. Now that looks like a trend to me. Once again, this was 24 hours ago what the forecast was. And now that we've got more data, this is what the forecast is. Obviously, we're moving this way. Another thing to consider here, if we kind of look back at that comparison we drew to the superstorm of 93, this storm forms in the Atlantic, okay? The superstorm of 93 formed down here in the Gulf of Mexico. And there is a piece of energy down there, which at first I was kind of like eyeballing it like, holy crap, is this really happening? But no, right now, all of the models are showing this piece of energy being the main phasing system that brings everything together. And you know, that's gonna be one of the things that tries to keep it a little bit further to the east. Even though the broad synoptic pattern is similar to a superstorm, the little mesoscale things at the surface are what really matter when it comes to your backyard. I know that like Alabama and Georgia got clobbered by the superstorm of 93, and as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case with this storm. All right, now, other than this, obviously this is going to be a big topic that we talk about over here for the next little bit, but other than that, is there anything else coming? Okay, Ryan, I want to know about, I live in Nebraska, okay? I don't care about the snow on the East Coast. So is there anything coming for Nebraska? Well, let's look at everybody here as we go into the future. The number one thing that I'm noticing is after this big storm goes through, we're going to have a nice period of quietness. Obviously, it's going to be colder than average over here in the Northeast, but we're going to see some warm air advection here in the Southwest that's going to bring some, warmer than average temperatures up for a lot of people here from Texas all the way back up into Idaho. Next big system that we're going to be watching is going to come in through the BC and then to the Pacific Northwest and West Coast here on Tuesday, February 1st. This is likely going to bring a lot of rain to Washington all the way down to California, and then also some very significant snow in the higher elevations, especially in the Sierras down here. We're going to see another, not a huge atmospheric river event, but something similar to where a lot of that moisture gets scraped up against the mountains. Big Clipper system comes over the Great Lakes region on Thursday, February 3rd, possibly bringing some snow up there, and then maybe even trailing down a cold front down into the Ohio Valley and Southeast that will bring some showers and storms. And then there's another shot for a big winter storm on the East Coast way back on February 5th. There's another shot for the Southeast on February 6th. Are we out of shots? No, here's another one. February 8th. Guys, we're in an active pattern, okay? I think we are going to see a flip to where the activity is kind of focused on the West Coast and we're going to be stuck in a ridge over here on the East. But according to the GFS here, it's not happening anytime soon. All right, big shout out to our members over here. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I unfortunately made this video at a really bad time. The new data is rolling out right now. So if you want to see some screenshots maybe from the newest GFS and stuff, go over to Twitter and follow me there and Facebook and stuff. I will obviously have another big update on this storm tomorrow, unless the models just completely trash it away. Like if you don't hear from me tomorrow, you know what happened. Our storm's gonzo, but I don't think that's going to happen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.